Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. When was the last time you sat in complete silence, no phone, no background music, no notifications, and just thought? Can't remember, right? Here's the thing, there's a quiet war happening inside your skull, and most people are completely losing it. Not because they're lazy, not because they're not smart enough, but because the world is quite literally designed to hijack your brain's most powerful systems before you even realize it's happening. Warning, what I'm about to share isn't feel-good motivation. It's based on real neuroscience, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm talking about your memory, your focus, your raw intelligence, and why they might be slowly eroding right now, even as you watch this video. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going to change that. Think about how a typical American day starts. The alarm goes off, and before your feet even hit the floor, your thumb is already swiping. You're reading headlines, watching a 15-second video, reacting to someone's opinion about something you didn't even ask about. By the time you eat breakfast, your brain has already processed more stimulation than a person in the 1970s would encounter in an entire week. And here's what that does to your brain. It trains it for distraction. Research has found that the average person now switches their attention every 40 seconds when working at a computer. 40 seconds. That's not long enough to actually think anything deep. But here's the good news. Your brain is one of the most adaptable machines in the known universe. It can be rewired, strengthened, upgraded, and it doesn't require expensive equipment or a neuroscience degree. It just requires the right knowledge. So today, here's exactly what we're going to cover. We're going to explore how to improve your B memory and focus, test your brain IQ, 7 of the most effective brain exercises backed by neuroscience, and exercise 5 or 7 most effective, and the best food science says will fuel your mind to peak performance. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. How to improve memory and focus. Let me tell you about something called the novelty bias. Your brain has a built-in reward system that goes absolutely wild every time it encounters something new. A new notification, a new message, a new short-form video. Every single time, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine, the same chemical you get from eating something delicious or achieving a goal. The problem is, you've been getting so many tiny dopamine hits that your brain no longer finds slow, quiet, deep thinking pleasurable. It's not a character flaw, it's biology. And once you understand it, you can start fighting back. Neuroscientists have mapped exactly what your brain needs to enter deep focus mode. It comes down to 3 neurochemicals firing in sequence. First, epinephrine. This is your alertness chemical. Without it, nothing else works. Getting a good night's sleep, exercising in the morning, or even a cup of coffee triggers this. Second, acetylcholine. This is your spotlight chemical. It narrows your attention onto exactly what you're trying to learn. The secret to activating it? Visual focus. When you deliberately fix your gaze on the thing you're working on, not bouncing around the room, your brain reads that as a signal. Something important is happening here. Third, dopamine. This is your motivation fuel. It fires when you feel like what you're doing actually matters. The trick? Connect your task to something emotionally real, a dream, a person you care about, a problem you're determined to solve. When all 3 are active simultaneously, you enter a learning state where your brain doesn't just absorb information, it physically restructures itself to hold on to it forever. Now, here's something that surprises most people. Learning doesn't actually happen while you're studying. It happens while you're asleep. While you study, your brain tags certain neural connections with a kind of neurochemical sticky note. During deep sleep, your brain goes back to those notes and builds permanent pathways around them. That's called memory consolidation. This is why pulling an all-nighter before an exam is one of the worst strategies in existence. You might temporarily hold information in short-term memory, but you're actively sabotaging the process that would have locked it in for years. Pro tip: after a focused study session or work block, take a 10 to 20 minute intentional rest, eyes closed, mind unfocused, no phone. Research shows this dramatically accelerates how much you retain from that session. Call it a brain reset. Here's one more thing most people don't know. Your brain runs on what's called ultradian cycles, roughly 90-minute windows of peak cognitive performance that repeat throughout the day. Inside those windows, you have about 60 minutes of prime deep focus time, bookended by warm-up and wind-down. The most important insight: don't fight the first 10 minutes of mental resistance. That discomfort, the urge to check your phone, to get up, to do something easier, is your brain entering a new mode. Push through it, and the next hour becomes significantly more productive. Struggle isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's the price of admission to deep learning. Chapter 2, the IQ test. All right, time to actually test that brain of yours. Here's the challenge: 5 questions. Give yourself 30 seconds per question. Let's go. Question 1. Can you tell me the name of fruit from this emoji? The answer is pineapple. Question 2. If all bloops are razzles and all razzles are lazzles, are all bloops definitely lazzles? A, yes. B, no. C, cannot be determined. D, only some. Bloops are lazzles. The answer is A, yes. Question 3. Which word does not belong? Piano, violin, drum, flute, trumpet. A, piano. B, violin. C, drum. D, flute. The answer is C, drum. Question 4. If the word book equals 2, 15, 15, 11, what does door equal? The answer is A, 4, 15, 15, 18. Question 5. Guess the word by emoji. The answer is rainbow. How did you do? Don't get caught up in the score. The real value was the process. Every time you challenge your brain with unfamiliar problems under time pressure, you're literally building new neural connections. That's the point. Tell me your score in the comments. And now, let's talk about how to train your brain to get even better. Chapter 3. 7 most effective brain exercises. Exercise 1, the Schulte table sprint. You're looking at a 5x5 grid of numbers from 1 to 25, scrambled randomly. Your task: starting from the center of the grid, find and mentally touch each number in ascending order, as fast as you can. Keep your gaze anchored to the center. Use your peripheral vision to hunt. Here's what's happening inside your brain as you do this. Your visual cortex, your prefrontal cortex, and your working memory are all firing simultaneously. Speed readers use this exact skill to process pages in seconds. Search Schulte table on your phone right now. 5 minutes a day, and within 2 weeks, you'll notice your reading speed and information processing accelerate significantly. Exercise 2, the Stroop color challenge. Simple rule: say the color of the text, not the word. If the word red is written in blue ink, you say blue. Sounds easy. Try it on screen right now. The reason this is so hard is that your brain has two competing systems running simultaneously. Your automatic word reading system, which is blazing fast, versus your intentional color identifying system. The conflict between them is called cognitive interference, the ability to override automatic responses and stay focused on what actually matters. 3 minutes daily. Exercise 3, the blindfold task. Right now, pause the video, close your eyes, write your full name on a piece of paper, or type it in the comments. Done? Pretty tough, right? When you remove vision from the equation, your brain has to activate spatial memory and proprioception, the internal sense of where your body is in space. Doing small tasks, blind drawing shapes, navigating familiar spaces, typing without looking directly strengthens spatial recall. And spatial recall is one of the strongest predictors of how well you remember information in general. Exercise 4, bilateral hand coordination. Make a fist with your right hand and a flat, open palm with your left. Now switch simultaneously. Right hand opens, left hand closes. Keep switching, faster and faster. What you're doing here is forcing your left and right brain hemispheres to communicate and coordinate in real time. This strengthens the corpus callosum, the neural bridge between your two hemispheres. Try 10 repetitions twice a day. After a week, increase speed. Exercise 5, non-dominant hand training. If you're right-handed, start brushing your teeth with your left hand. If you're left-handed, flip it. Do it for 1 week. This feels frustrating. That's the point. That frustration is the sensation of new neural pathways forming. Every time you use your non-dominant hand for a familiar task, you're recruiting cortical regions that rarely get activated in daily life, literally building new roads inside your brain. As a micro challenge right now, like this video using your non-dominant hand. Exercise 6, strategic cognitive games. Not all games are created equal. There's a massive difference between games that create passive entertainment and games that demand active cognition. Chess trains forward planning, consequence thinking, and pattern recognition. Sudoku strengthens working memory and logical elimination. Word association, games improve verbal fluency and lateral thinking. The key distinction, the game should require you to think, not just react. If you're on autopilot, you're being entertained. If you're leaning forward with genuine uncertainty about what to do next, you're training. Exercise 7, strategic technology detox. The final exercise is the hardest one and the most important. Once a day, for at least 20 minutes, put your phone in another room and do absolutely nothing technologically stimulating. What happens inside your brain during those 20 minutes is remarkable. Your mind enters what neuroscientists call the default mode network, an internal landscape where you're not processing external input, but instead weaving together memories, imagining futures, and making connections between ideas that would never surface during a stimulated state. This is where creativity lives. This is where your best ideas are born. Not in front of a screen, not in the noise. In the quiet spaces you've been trained to fear. The goal isn't to eliminate technology. It's to stop letting technology eliminate your thinking. Chapter 4, Best Foods for Brain Health. Here's a fact that most people gloss over. Your brain is nearly 60% fat. Not metaphorically, literally. The neurons in your brain are wrapped in fatty sheaths called myelin, and those sheaths are what allow electrical signals to travel fast and clean. What you eat determines the quality of that myelin, and the quality of your myelin determines the quality of your thinking. Let's break down the most important nutritional pillars for a high-performance brain. First, omega, 3 fatty acids, the brain's building material. DHA and EPA, the two most critical omega-3 fatty acids, are structural components of your brain cells. Without adequate DHA, your neural membranes become less fluid, which slows down the signaling between neurons. The result? Slower recall, lower focus, and a higher risk of cognitive decline as you age. Best sources: wild-caught salmon, sardines, anchovies, mackerel, and walnuts. Not a fish person? High-quality algae-based omega-3 supplements provide the same DHA and EPA without the seafood. Target range. Aim for at least 1.5 to 2 grams of combined DHA and EPA per day. Second, complex carbohydrates, steady fuel, not sugar spikes. Your brain runs exclusively on glucose, a form of sugar, but the source of that glucose matters enormously. Refined sugars and white flour products dump glucose into your bloodstream in a massive spike, followed by a hard crash. During that crash, your cognitive function tanks. Complex carbohydrates, oatmeal, quinoa, sweet potatoes, brown rice, legumes release glucose slowly and steadily. That means hours of consistent mental energy instead of a 30-minute burst followed by brain fog. If you're a student or knowledge worker, what you eat 2 hours before deep work matters as much as how long you sleep. Third, protein, the neurotransmitter factory. Every neurotransmitter your brain uses to think, feel, focus, and remember is built from amino acids, which come from protein. Serotonin comes from tryptophan. Dopamine comes from tyrosine. GABA comes from glutamate. If your protein intake is low, your neurotransmitter production is low. And if your neurotransmitter production is low, no amount of willpower or discipline will keep your brain performing at its peak. Best sources: eggs, lean chicken or turkey, lentils, Greek yogurt, tofu, and edamame. Aim for protein at every major meal, not just dinner. Fourth, antioxidants, your brain's defense system. Every time your neurons fire, they produce byproducts called free radicals, unstable molecules that can damage brain tissue over time. This is called oxidative stress, and it's linked to accelerated cognitive decline, memory loss, and even neurodegenerative diseases. Antioxidants neutralize free radicals before they can cause damage. Blueberries are particularly powerful. They cross the blood-brain barrier and directly improve signaling between neurons. Dark chocolate with 70% cacao or higher contains flavonoids that improve blood flow to the brain. Spinach, broccoli, and kale are loaded with vitamins E and K, both of which support long-term cognitive resilience. Think of antioxidant-rich foods as maintenance for the hardware your thinking runs on. Fifth, water, the simplest brain booster. Nobody uses enough. Your brain is approximately 75% water. Even a 2% drop in hydration, the level most Americans operate at chronically, has been shown to impair short-term memory, reduce attention span, and slow reaction time. Before you optimize your diet with supplements or superfoods, ask yourself, am I actually drinking enough water? Most adults need around 80 to 100 ounces daily, more if you exercise or live somewhere hot. The cheapest, most accessible brain performance upgrade in the world is a glass of water. Use it. I want to leave you with something that took me a long time to actually absorb. Your brain doesn't change because of what happens to you. It changes because of what you choose to pay attention to. Every experience you have is running through your brain whether you like it or not. But only the things you focus on with intention, with alertness, with emotion, with curiosity, actually rewire the structure of your thinking. You are the curator of your own neural architecture. That means the information you feed your mind, the challenges you expose it to, the rest you give it, the food you fuel it with, all of it is a choice. And that choice is building, right now, the version of yourself you're going to be living with for the rest of your life. So here's what I want you to do today, not next week, today. Pick one thing from this video, one exercise, one food, one 20-minute phone-free window, and actually do it. Not because it'll transform your life overnight, but because it starts something. And your brain, that miraculous, plastic, endlessly adaptable organ inside your skull, will respond. It always does. Tell me in the comments, what are you going to try first? I read every single one. If this gave you something valuable today, something real, you can actually use, share it with someone who needs it. And subscribe, because we go deep on topics most channels are afraid to touch. I'll see you in the next one.